it is as close to Norman, Oklahoma as it is to Austin, Texas. I hope that they never change that game to anywhere else except the Cotton Bowl.
I know you guys played SMU a couple times, and I know that by the time that you guys were playing in the Red River game in 1984, you'd already played SMU. But do you remember the first time you played in Dallas, Texas?
Yeah, it was Texas OU 1981.
Okay. You played.
My freshman year, I was the number 3 quarterback. 1981, we were probably ranked in the top 10, because I know earlier that year, I'm not sure if it was the week before or 2 weeks before, but we got beat by Arkansas that year. It may have been after. But our 3-game deal, people don't realize a lot of times, back in those days, we played SMU, Oklahoma, and Arkansas on back-to-back weeks every single year.
Oh my God.
And people say, well, I said, but SMU at the time was in the, a top 5 team in the every year. That was, the Pony Express and that bunch. A bunch that got put on death. They got the death penalty for doing what's going on right now.
Yeah.
That didn't seem right. But anyway.
So the first time playing in Dallas was at the Cotton Bowl?
At the Cotton Bowl, fall 1981. Yeah.
As a player, and especially quarterback, how would you describe the meaning of this rivalry?
It's just the absolute pride of our 2 states. Sometimes I feel like Oklahoma takes it a little bit more serious. And then as a player, I show up to the fairgrounds and I change my mind when you see all the burnt orange. It is the absolute bragging rights for 1 year in your entire life. If you are someone, whether you went to the University of Texas or you live in the state of Texas and you choose to follow the Longhorns, it gives you 365 days of peace when you have to deal with people from up there. The state, the Oklahoma football program would have a hard time existing without the state of Texas through the years. I think that's fair to say when you look at their roster year in, year out, that some years 65%, some years 50%, but a large amount of players come from the state of Texas.
Oh yeah. For that 1984 game, when you guys were ranked number 1, what do you remember about it?
Well, the lead up to it was something really special because 1983 we got beat by Georgia in the Cotton Bowl and cost us a national championship. We had 17 players off that team drafted. 17. I mean, we had guys that didn't even start that got drafted that year. So that 1983 team. So 1984, the expectations for the Horns are always really high, but we were in a rebuilding mode. I had won the job during the spring, and I started. The first game of the year was against Auburn. They were number 1 in the nation. We beat them at home. The next game was against Penn State. They were number 1 in the nation. We beat them on the road. The next game, I think we played Rice and we won. So we were 3-0, and we were ranked number 1. And at that time, probably deserved to be number 1, and they definitely deserved to be number 2.
As for the game itself, I mean, I know the tie was wild.
Yeah.
But being in that arena, of course, like half the stadium's for you, half of it's against you, running out of the tunnel, those specifics, what stands out to you from that game, especially as your first time being the starter?
It rained in preparation all day, all morning. It was raining in pregame. It kind of intermittently rained. The turf, we always talk about this, the turf at the Cotton Bowl, the old AstroTurf, was some of the best turf to play on because it was pretty soft.
Okay.
But when it rained, it was real slick. And just, the unbelievable when you look up and when you walk out of the tunnel. Oklahoma is always on that end, so it's always red on the tunnel end and then orange, on the other end. Kind of going back to my freshman year, nowadays they put that big tarp over the tunnel so that nothing could get thrown on the players.
Yeah.
Well, when you're a Texas player, whether you're in burnt orange or in white, you're the home team or the visitor team, you are going to get, before they put that tarp on there, you're going to get absolutely drenched with everything that can possibly be poured on you.
Liquefied.
And so I can remember as a barely 18-year-old freshman coming down the tunnel smelling like some Jack Daniels. Because I'd had just a big, it's just crazy. But back to 84, we got off to a hot start. I threw a touchdown pass to Billboy Bryant in the first quarter on a wheel route. The whole game was a defensive struggle. I had some funny stories about that game. I always tell people that, and I had friends on the OU football team. I got hit about the numbers, and I went sliding out of bounds. Bosworth hit me, and I go sliding out of bounds. And it was so slick on that field, it was almost like being on a slippy slide.
Oh my
And I'm just head first into their bench, and I clip some people, and people fall on top of me. Of course, when you're an opponent and you're on the other, you're going to get the business. You're going to get a little kick in the ribs, or you're not going to get a whole lot of people wanting to help you up. And so I got this friendly hand reached out to me, and I looked up, and it was Coach Switzer. And they had recruited me, and so and he knew back from Port Arthur, people call me TD. He goes, TD, you're not looking too good. And I go, Coach, I've been better. So he helped me up, but he helped me up with his right hand, but his left hand he's cupping a cigarette.
Oh my God!
And so
Leave it to Barry.
So he helps me up, and I go back out, and so a little while later there was a TV timeout, and I'm in the huddle with my teammates. I go, guys, y'all never believe.
He was smoking
I said, I got thrown out of bounds a while ago. I said, Switcher's over there smoking a cigarette. They go, you're full of it. No, he wasn't. I go, yeah, he is. He's over there. And so the game was over with and everything. Keith Stanberry, a good friend of mine from Mount Pleasant, Texas, one of their great safeties. I said, Keith, I got to know. I said, was he? Oh yeah, Coach. Todd. When he gets nervous, he stands down there by himself. He thinks everybody can't see him, but yeah, he'll smoke a cigarette on sideline. So. That was an interesting deal. Of course, the 15-15 tie. I'll tell players about that through my years of coaching. They'll go, tie? You mean there wasn't overtime? I said, no, there was no overtime. Our head coach chose to kick it to tie it, and it was over with, and everybody's walking around. It's like. Just weird. Back when I was playing, I'm sure it's still this way. If you win the game, it's a great about 2 hours after the game, because you tell the bus, you go, I'm coming back tomorrow. I'm getting my ride back. I'll see y'all in Austin. I'm staying, walk around the fair, kind of stretch your stuff a little bit. If you lose, you get back on the bus, you go back to Austin. You don't stay for the parties and all that kind of stuff. Well, when you tie, what do you do? Kind of everybody staying there, and the Texas and OU players are all kind of, walk around the fairgrounds. Hey, what's up? That's kind of weird,
That is. I can't imagine. Does it add pressure being the number one team, honestly, in this game?
No. I don't think it does. And I think I can speak for it. There's enough pressure on playing the game. It doesn't matter whether or not. The actual number one is an absolute back burner type thing.
Really?
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I know when we were there, we were number one, but we were always highly ranked.
Yeah.
And they were usually highly ranked coming into the game. It wasn't uncommon for the two of us to be in the top 10 or maybe even top 5, so that was uncommon. But regardless if you were number one or you were number 17 or you were undefeated or you were struggling, it didn't matter. The expectation was you got to win this game. So the ranking didn't matter.
How much do you get wrapped up in this game now?
Well, I'm pretty, I don't go to it a lot.
Okay.
When I was coaching here, Riley and I went every year.
Okay.
I'll never forget one year we got tickets, and he was probably 11 or 12 years old. Got tickets and was thankful to get them. Didn't really pay attention to where they were. We sit down, get there really early because we wanted to watch pregame. And now it starts to fill in. We're sitting right in the middle of the OU section. So we are just dripping with burnt orange. I mean, my son and I. And so the game's going on, and it's a great game, and it's a close game. And right at the end, it's pretty evident that OU's going to win the game. So with about 3 minutes left to go in the game, Riley goes, "Let's go, Dad." He gets up. I go, "You sit down." Now he goes, "What?" I go, "I'm mad. I'm ready to leave." I go, "You sit down." I said, "If we walk out of here right now in this section, we will get crucified. They will, these fans from OU." I said, "The game's going to be over, and we're going to kind of get in the crowd and just kind of work our way out." So that's kind of a memory of going. But I tell you, one of the funnest times I've had Texas OU lately is, pretty duly noted that I retired for 2 years, and now I'm coming back. My first fall of retirement, all of my buddies from Port Arthur would always go to Crystal Beach for Texas OU.
Okay.
They would have a big deal, get a nice beach cabin, watch the game. It was always going to be a 11 a.m. kickoff, so they watch the game and then they go throw horseshoes and do whatever we do on the beach for the rest of the game. Well, they would always kiddingly call me, "Hey, T, you coming?" No, once again, I work. I work on weekends, so no, I'm not coming. But so when I retired, I went down there, and we're up on top of this really nice beach cabin. We got flat screen TVs and everything, and we're we got the Bloody Marys going. I mean, we're having a big time, and Texas wins 49-0.
Oh, I know.
So it was a good day.
That was a great day.
It was a really, really good day. And I told them all, I said, "You know what? I've been coaching for 36 years at the time. I can promise you on October the 11th or whatever, I promise you over the last 38 years, I've never been on the beach on a Saturday in October." But now retirement hit, and I was able to hang out with my boys. And they're going to be down there on Saturday. And they've invited me once again to come be down there. And once again, I told them I'm back to work again.
Yeah.
So,
as you think back across all the years being around the game of football, where do you rank, those 4-ish? Was it 5 years? I thought you were there for 5.
I was there for 5 because in '81 I played in like 3 ball games, but it's a weird deal. You couldn't redshirt freshmen in 1981.
Okay.
I don't know why. And so later on, I went back and got a retroactive redshirt year. Okay. So I actually they treated that as a redshirt year for me. I played in 3 ball games that year, but later on, it's kind of like it is nowadays. If you play in a certain percent or less, they can give you the redshirt on that year. So I suited up and was involved in 5 whole seasons, and lettered in 4.
So, as you think about all the years around the game, where do those 5 seasons rank in terms of basically just your favorite memories of the game of football?
84. The whole year. I mean, that whole year. But it was a little bittersweet, I guess, because the hot start that we got off onto. And, how many times do you beat the number 1 team in the nation 2 weeks in a row, and go from 17 to 1 in 4 weeks? So that was. Now, I learned, the other thing that I learned about that year was what playing quarterback at the University of Texas did for me and did for my coaching career. It made me when I got through with that season, felt like I was mentally as tough as I needed to be to go into coaching, because I got booed by 80,000 and got a standing ovation by the same 80,000 in the same day. And so when you have that happen to you as a 20-year-old, I mean, that can crush you, and I didn't let it. So probably playing quarterback at the University of Texas was the best thing that ever happened to me, considering I was going to go into a coaching career. I tell you, the thing that came out, people don't realize the stuff that cameras don't see in the tunnel. And I learned this in my first 2 years, 81 and 82. You're coming down the tunnel. Okay, so this is, to me, it's the people who produce the game and everything. It's really not very smart to put the two teams in the tunnel at the same time. So if you are the visiting team, you were going to come out first, and then the home team is going to come out second. But you literally, I'm looking at 5 yards wide right here on this turf. That's how wide the tunnel is. Y'all been down it. OU's over there. Texas is right here. They're lining all the way down. We're lining all the way down, and there's just so much crap being talked to each other. I mean, it is yeah. I mean, you can imagine. And inevitably, the first 2 years, there's going to be a fight in the tunnel. And the funny thing, I didn't think it at the time, but as the years go on, we reflect. It's always 2 offensive linemen or 3 offensive linemen that are fighting each other, who are not going to go against each other the whole game. It's 2 or 3 of the biggest, and I always used to call it a belly buck off. They weren't hurting each other, but you got 2 or 3 300-pound human beings that are just, getting after it.
Yeah.
And the rest of us are, whatever, we're talking noise, us little quarterbacks standing in the background, But that was always interesting, is they would fight. And then the stuff that, it didn't matter, as I told Michelle earlier, that when you come down that tunnel, and my memory is before they had that tarp. The tarp was the smartest thing they ever did for keeping the Texas players dry before the game. Because you were always going to get stuff dumped on you with it being open air, as you come down. Another dynamic, the 83 and 84. 83, Marcus Dupree, true freshman. He had his coming out party against Texas, about 185 to 200 yards rushing. They beat us. The next year, one Edwin Simmons, true freshman. He did the same thing for us against them. About 185 yards we win. So those were, I can remember those two. Marcus Dupree, they ran a option pitch towards our sideline, and Richard Peavy, one of our great safeties, hit him. And that's the last, and Marcus, I remember this, Marcus Dupree fell right at my feet on the sideline, okay? And he was so cuckoo that he tried to walk into the Texas defensive huddle on the way back, and they got him towards the side. That's the last play he ever played college football.
Oh my God.
They had him and Coach Switzer had that falling out, and he quit. And then next thing you know, 6 months later, he's playing in the USFL. There's a whole 30-30 deal on Marcus Dupree. I guess I'm a bit biased, but I think it is the absolute greatest. I mean, because of the dynamic of playing it in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, and where it literally is half red and half orange. It is as close to Norman, Oklahoma as is to Austin, Texas. I hope that they never change that game to anywhere else except the Cotton Bowl.